We know that many pregnant women, especially in the first 3 months of pregnancy, often develop strong aversions or even disgusted by certain types of foods that they would usually like. We know that many pregnant women also develop very strong cravings for specific kinds of foods. Is it just a historical accident that women experience these changes to appetite during pregnancy, or could these things be adaptive? Could we have evolved to be more picky during pregnancy? What are pregnant women's bodies telling them about food, and why might they be telling them these things? Answering these questions matters because new evidence is emerging that the conditions that a fetus lives in while in the womb not only affects how that fetus grows and develops into a baby, a child, and then eventually an adult, but also affects the health and development of that person's children, grandchildren, and maybe even great-grandchildren. Canada, like most of the rest of the world, is facing large challenges related to obesity and metabolic disorders, and it seems like some of these challenges really begin during fetal life. So, figuring out why pregnant women eat what they eat is a crucial first step to tackling a series of health, cultural, and economic issues central to Canadian society. But pinning down what factors influence diet during pregnancy can be difficult because there are multiple genetic, environmental, and demographic factors that all interact with one another and make the story hard to unravel. One way to begin simplifying the story is to work with mothers from a population that already live in a fairly controlled environment, where most people come from the same gene pool, eat the same kinds of things, and share the same core cultural values. And this is just the strategy that my collaborator that collected the data for this project, Dr. Joe Henrich, took. He interviewed 70 mothers from a small population from Luseadra Island, Fiji, about food aversions and food cravings during early pregnancy. We found that most women's aversions focused on fish, meat, cassava, and imported starches and sugars. Fish and meat are likely to contain disease-causing microbes, and cassava contains cyanide. Pregnant women and fetuses are especially vulnerable to these kinds of toxins, so it appears that women may be adapted to avoid them. Eating starches, like wheat flour, elevates the risk of developing gestational diabetes, and women from non-Western populations, such as the Fijians, are already at higher risk of developing this very dangerous condition of pregnancy. We found that food cravings generally focus on things that are not aversive, and thus are non-toxic and low risk for diabetes, such as fruits, vegetables, yams, and plantains, suggesting that pregnant women's bodies motivate them to get calories and nutrients from relatively safe foods. We don't yet know if the women that listen closely to their bodies' aversions and cravings have given birth to healthier babies that will grow into healthier adults, but figuring that out is one of the main next steps of our research. The other thing we'd like to do is to figure out how to adapt the methods that we used on Yasawa to our much bigger, more diverse, and more complex society here in Canada. But until we can put that research into practice, the story from the women of Luseadra Island suggests that pregnant women's bodies have evolved to tell them important things about what foods to avoid and which ones to seek out so as to provide a toxin-free, diabetes-free environment for fetuses. Will this pattern hold up here at home? I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm Luseadra McKerracher, a SSHRC-funded PhD student from SFU.